All righty. Well, they're not all going to be pretty, but that's okay. Because the Knicks did what they so often do, and that is find a way to win a ball game that maybe other teams would not be able to win. And that's because I think we could say it now with one game left in this regular season, a regular season that has been um, uh, really, as many have said, a roller coaster. It's featured a lot of ups and downs. But it is building momentum. It is gaining momentum at exactly the right time. And I say that even in light of the fact that they got off to they were down 26-9 in this game to the Brooklyn Nets, who, aside from just sucking, we're missing a bunch of guys. And well, we could talk a little bit about why that happened. I think there were some reasons that are, I don't think I would term anything concerning. I think some of it was personnel. A lot of it was the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein missed this game. We'll get back to that in a second. They also had no Deuce tonight. So the Knicks were a little bit shorthanded, aside from obviously missing Julius Randle. And they got down, and it didn't, not that it didn't matter. Of course it matters. You're down by 17 points. Doesn't matter who you're down 17 to. It's like, that's a legitimate thing to be worried about. And yeah, I don't think anybody watching this game was like, oh, I guess the Knicks are just going to lose tonight, and that's going to be a dispiriting loss to the Brooklyn Nets, because that's not what they do. It's not what this team's done on really all year, but especially as they've really coalesced and come together over the last bunch of months. And I think what's been nice about this recent winning streak is there's something that happens in each game where you're like, man, that's an important development. Like, some things are givens, right? Like Jalen Brunson being one of the greatest Knicks of all time, a guy who is about to finish top 5 in MVP, in all likelihood is going to make first team All-NBA. Like, Jalen Brunson being awesome eventually, even if he might get off to a slow start like he did in this game, that's a given. You know that's going to happen. You know he's going to go 4 for 4 from the free throw line down the stretch to seal the deal. You know he's going to make tough buckets. You know he's going to make the right decision every time. Hello, 11 assists to 0 turnovers. How many point guards in the league are pulling off that stat line? He just makes the right decision every time. Doesn't mean the shot's going to go in every time he takes it. Makes the right decision every time. And you know that. You know Josh Hart is going to be a madman. And, he's had better stat lines, especially over this run where he's been a starter. But only 7 rebounds, which for him is like nothing. Only 1 assist. Josh Hart knew the assignment tonight, and he came through because they needed him for his energy. They needed him for his toughness. They needed him, and most of all, in that third quarter, playing second fiddle to a guy we're going to talk about in a second. They needed his defense and his finishing, everything. Like, again, on a game, in a game where a lot of guys, like a few guys, you're missing some guys. You're missing Hartenstein, huge part of your offense. You're missing Deuce McBride. He's a big source of threes. DiVincenzo didn't really have D tonight, 2 for 8. Brunson got off to a slow start. They needed Josh Hart's offense, including, by the way, 2 made threes in 3 attempts. But again, you know more or less what you're going to get from Josh Hart, and you know more or less what you're going to get from OG Anunoby at this point, because that dude, man, he's like, I feel like it's the Jaws music should play with him, because that shark, he's biding his time. He's biding his time. He's biding his time. First half, didn't score. Defense was his usual level, but like nothing eye popping. And then third quarter, really third quarter, almost single-handedly, again, with the assistance of Josh Hart, and everybody played really hard on defense in that third quarter. But OG Anunoby just completely took the Nets game plan and ripped it to shreds in front of their faces. And that's what he could do. He could change a game by himself with what he does on the defensive end, and obviously what he could do in transition. But we know all that. So why was this win nice? What is the thing we're going to take away from this win? Think maybe, just maybe, Mitchell Robinson is back. And Mitchell Robinson has been back in the lineup now for several weeks. And yet at no point have I ever felt watching him since he has returned from an extended injury absence like the Mitch that we fell in love with at the beginning of this. I mean, we fell in love with him the day he first stepped onto the court in Vegas during Summer League. I mean, the guy that, when I say we fell in love with his potential as maybe a defensive or not potential, his actualization of his potential. There we go. I got there. Eventually I got there. As a defensive player of the year candidate. That's where he was over the first 20 whatever games of the season. I think what we saw tonight on defense, don't jump and don't get baited by a 3-point shooter, Mitch. Other than that, though, as the game went on, first half left a little bit to be desired, but it was better than Jericho Sims. Second half really turned it on. Also on the in terms of the offensive rebounding, grabbed 6 offensive rebounds. Did Mitchell Robinson in this game, and then of course the lead story on the night, ahead of Brunson, ahead of Hart, ahead of OG. Precious gave him a couple good minutes there in the first half. He was solid, very solid. We will not mention Alec Burks' name, or at least I won't mention his name again until he gets brought up in the Super Chats. The lead story from this game, Mitchell Robinson getting fouled 3 times intentionally, but he went to the line 8 total times in the fourth quarter, made 5 of those. And kudos, I didn't even realize this. Fred Katz just tweeted it out. Mitchell Robinson played the entire fourth quarter. And this is his coach. Mitch makes plays no one else can. He ain't lying. And that's why, for as frustrating as Mitch can be at times, when you know, it's like, oh my God, the guy can't even always catch a ball cleanly. It's worth it, because the upside, the ceiling, and the things, as Tibbs says, that he does that nobody else can. And then to come through with those made free throws, 1 of 2, 1 of 2, 1 of 2, and then the big one made both of his attempts when the Nets fouled him with 3 seconds to go before the 2-minute mark, which if you intentionally foul someone after the 2-minute mark, it goes down as an intentional foul. You get the 2 free throws and the ball back, so you can't do it. And I thought that was the play of the game. Yeah, Brunson made a big basket after that, but the big bucket that Brunson made after that, how did that happen? Well, it only happened because after Jalen Brunson missed a shot initially, Mitchell Robinson got the rebound. So winning plays from Mitchell Robinson down the stretch of this game, and they're going to need him. They're going to need him. They're going to need him because they, again, you can't. We love the Knicks starting 5. I love the Knicks starting 5. The Knicks starting 5 is really, really, really solid. You can't win in the playoffs with 5 guys. You can't even really win with 6. You need 7. You need like 6.5, 7, you know? And we all have a lot of faith in Deuce. Missed tonight with an illness. We hope he gets better soon. Bogey, Bogey finished 3 of 11 tonight. And I thought the buckets he gave them were big buckets in the moment in 19 minutes. He was a -1 in 19 minutes, and I don't think that's a misnomer. And that's even with the Burks minutes, which were, some of those were pretty rough. But we're going to need Mitch. And we're going to need Mitch in particular because Mitchell Robinson, the way this team has been built, where, yeah, Jalen Brunson's the MVP candidate, but they just built everything around their centers. They built everything around their centers on both ends of the floor. And they need that for 48 minutes. It's why they went out and signed Isaiah Hartenstein for what they did. And it's why they never wanted to trade away Mitch. It's why I think I continue to hold out hope that there is a world next season where both of those guys are back playing a big role because they need them both. Trying to think if I have anything else to really say about this game. I mean, just great fight. The third quarter was like one of the best quarters the Knicks have played all season. I know it came against the Nets, but that was awe-inspiring stuff from the Knicks, especially on the defensive end in the third quarter. And you know what? I'm going to do something that, Andrew's going to yell at me for, but what's right is right. Give credit to the Nets. This team has absolutely nothing to play for. 0. As I said, missing a bunch of their guys. And like they came out and they gave a representative effort tonight. And they got hit in the after they went up big, and the Knicks had a 28-point turnaround, turned a 17-point deficit to an 11-point advantage in the third quarter. Brooklyn did not wilt. Now, again, the Knicks' backup minutes had a little bit to do with that, but they didn't wilt. They didn't go away. And Cam Thomas is not my cup of tea. I'm not sure I'd want him on my basketball team because if he's on your team, he's going to take a million shots. But there are nights where he takes a million shots and he makes a lot of them. And tonight was one of them. I mean, the dude was unconscious. I think the luckiest part, actually, for the Knicks is probably that Lonnie Walker, who was even more unconscious in the first half, started missing and really actually wasn't really involved as much in the second half. But, 41 from Cam. Good job by him. But better job by the Knicks. And, he would have thought this. Who would have thought this on June 30th, 2019, nearly 5 years ago, that we'd be sitting here with the Knicks on the verge of 50 wins with a record of 49-32. Well, little brother, 32 and 49. How you doing? On that note, let us get to our segments, which are going to be jam-packed. I got a special guest coming on for one of those segments, which is good because I just realized my computer is not plugged in, and I need to duck under the table to plug it in. So I'm going to go do that when he comes up here in a few minutes. But first, the Unified Healing Road to Recovery. You've heard us talk about Unified Healing for a while now. Very happy to have them as a sponsor here on the post-game show. You can learn more about Unified Healing by going to unifiedhealing.com. That is UNIFYD healing.com to learn more and find a center near you. Again, that's unified with a Y, UNIFYD healing.com. The Unified Healing Road to Recovery. So tonight, interesting, Isaiah Hartenstein plays over 30 minutes last night, including, I believe, the entire fourth quarter. It was the most minutes he's played since he came back from the Achilles injury, which he suffered, I believe, initially in January. And tonight, out, injury, Achilles injury management. So this upset some people, naturally. Not going to name any names. But as soon as he was listed as being out, I don't think Fred will mind me saying this. I texted Fred, I think, earlier today, and I'm like, was this a planned day off? Because it would make a lot more sense if you push Hartenstein past the 30-minute mark, which if you remember, back when he first came back, he spoke very openly about what the plan was for his recovery timeline. And he was frustrated. There was a game where he only played like 12 minutes, and he's like, the plan is for me to play like around 20 and then ramp it up back to get to 30 minutes by the playoffs. And I was like, it would make a lot of sense that last night against Boston was the night where it's like, okay, here we go. Let's push it to 30. And then with the understanding that tonight would be a day off because it's the second night of a back-to-back, and they're not going to have any more back-to-backs because now it's the playoffs and there are no back-to-backs in the playoffs. And Tibbs didn't say that verbatim before the game, but he kind of implied like this was always kind of the idea. He was, second night of a back-to-back, Hartenstein wasn't going to play. So that there's no concern level there for Isaiah. If anything, everybody should be happy. They're just working on making sure Isaiah is fresh for the playoffs because God knows they need him because some of those minutes early on with Jericho Sims. Yeesh. Jericho Sims, nice player. He's a third big on a good team. So that's Isaiah Hartenstein. Deuce McBride in illness. Interesting there only because Tibbs said before the game that he thought Deuce would play. He was listed as questionable with an illness. And then he was a late scratch, and with the questionable tag. So you figure Deuce. I mean, guy like Deuce, that dude had to be really sick to miss the game. And then Jalen Brunson was probable, but like the notion that he wasn't going to play is pretty. He was going to play. He was definitely going to play. Okay, I think that's it. That has been the Unified Healing Road to Recovery, and I now am going to welcome aboard my good buddy, Andrew Claudio.
Hey, buddy. Want me to what? Want you what?
See a magic act?
Yes, let's see it.
Here for the next 3 seconds.
Yes. By John. What he's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat too. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Shout out to T Squared Social. This is your out of town scoreboard presented by T Squared Social, the new home for Knicks Film School watch parties. Get a free draft beer if you go there and tell them that Knicks Film School sent you. If you want to get involved with their memberships, whether it be simulation golf or one of their golf simulators or duck pin bowling or darts, they have trivia every Friday night. That's something my wife and I are most likely going to take advantage of this summer. So see if you know how I am with trivia. See if you can beat me in trivia throughout the summer. But head on over to T Squared Social. They're right off of 42nd Street, just a couple blocks away from Grand Central, and they're gonna help me go through the out of town scoreboard with the one Jonathan Macri as we update you live on what's going on. So John, you seem to want to know, and I've been like simulating it throughout the week what the scenarios are for the playoffs. So if you want to update people on the actual scoreboard, and then I'll help with the scenarios.
Okay, so let's start with the scoreboard. Which, man, what a night in the NBA, by the way. Can I just say, just live, I got my two screens going here. The Lakers are hanging on to a 4-point lead against, you can't even call this team the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
because it's the hustle. It's the Memphis Hustle. 13 players listed as out before this game, which I believe was some kind of league record. Lakers holding on for dear life again in Memphis. Anthony Davis and LeBron James both playing. I know nobody watching really cares about what's going on out west, but I find that nuts. You never know what's going to happen late in the season. And then on the other TV here, I got the Wolves down 2 to the Hawks. This game means nothing for the Hawks. The Hawks aren't playing their guys. And the Wolves are still trying to get home court advantage here against either the Nuggets or actually try not to fall down to third. Karl-Anthony Towns, just a big shot to put him up by 1. Okay, let's get to the relevant stuff.
Well, hold on. There's another element out west that just happened. It just went final. We know this very well, but Victor Wembanyama and co. just defeated the Nuggets. What did
Wemby do, actually?
He didn't have the game-winning shot, but he had a good net. I can pull it up. He had 34.
I got it already. I got it.
Never mind.
Sorry, that's my bad. 34 and 12 with 5 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal to Jokic. I mean, these guys are going to battle just for so long. Jokic only 22 and 12 with or 22 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds. Only took 13 shots. Anyway,
a measly 22 points. Yeah.
I mean,
but that's the Jokic standard. He missed 4 shots tonight, and we're like, measly 22 points, but 22, 6 and 12 tonight.
But every year, there is a result that happens in the last weekend of the season that there's real stakes, and you're like, holy shit.
I would actually push back. This is the first year I can remember these games mattering in a long time. The fact that all these games matter is, I think,
in the West they did last year.
In the West, yeah, but
in the West they mattered a lot last year.
So I think the cool part about what we're about to go over is we're going into game 82 of the season for everybody, and there's still barely anything clinched. The Celtics will be the 1 seed. The Bulls and Hawks will play in the play-in, and the
Mavs and Clippers.
The Mavs and Clippers. That series is matched up. Barely anything else as far as matchups is actually decided at the moment. So, yeah.
Okay. So here, 1-point game now in Memphis is unbelievable. Okay, so Cavs, biggest game. Well, actually, maybe not the biggest game of the night, because there are 2 biggest games of the night. Cavs beat the Pacers in Cleveland. I had the game on the whole time. Obviously, I was on what?
I'd argue 3 big games for the night.
I mean, there's a lot of big games, but in terms of 2 East teams fighting for position, with each other. Playing each other.
Yes.
So from what I saw, I don't know if I would define that as the most impressive win from the Cavs. The Pacers got real close late, but Cavs did just enough. Big Darius Garland step back to really give them a cushion late in the last minute. And then down 995 from us, the 76ers survived not only the Magic, but a injury scare from Joel Embiid, who came back in the second half after appearing to injure his knee or his foot or something in the first half. Had a big game, 125-113 over the Magic. Was the third game you're referring to Bucks Thunder?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I the Knicks tie the 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't consider a big game only because there's no Dame, and the Bucks fought valiantly. But it was a 125-107 Thunder victory.
Yeah, I didn't really think the valiant. I mean, fine, valiant effort was not losing by 20, but they lost by 18. I think the reason that was
they were in it for a while.
They were in it for a while. You're right. I think the Nets were in it for a while tonight. I think the Bucks fought valiantly, like you said. I think the funny part about how we're semantics is here with me calling this a big game. If the Bucks win this game, Sunday does not matter, Jonathan, or not as much as it would in the sense that the Knicks could jump up to the 2 seed. They'd be playing for 3 or 4, which does matter the placement, but they needed the Bucks to lose out is the point.
Yeah, Sunday would have. If the Bucks won this game, Sunday would have still mattered for the Knicks because they could have fallen out to 4 where there was a scenario there.
Yes, because if they lose and the Cavs win on Sunday, then they drop to 4. If both teams win and the Bucks had won tonight, then the Knicks are 3 and they're locked in and potentially play the Sixers, which we're all trying to avoid.
Okay, so on that note,
mm-hmm.
This is a tweet directly from Tim Bontemps. With Cavs winning tonight, the Sixers will finish 6th. Here's with a win. They play what terrible team do they play on Sunday? I forget who that.
The Sixers. They play this Nets team that you were impressed by tonight.
I mean, they fought. So with a win against Brooklyn, and in either in Orlando loss or an Indiana win. Now they will but it can't be both. I think is the key because here's how the Sixers finished 7th. They win. And Orlando wins and Indiana wins because that is a 3-team tiebreaker, which Orlando wins by virtue of their division win. And then then Pacers win their season series tiebreaker with Philly. So here's why this is. Well, actually, hold on. You're going to see my brain pour out of my ears in a second. So Orlando plays Milwaukee on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So if Orlando wins in Milwaukee, we're going to talk this out. You're going to be here you're going to be my support person.
You're good. I know where you're trying to go. I will help you get there.
Okay. I think we can get there. I love how you see how my mind works so well.
I know it well. I've worked with you for a while. Okay.
So Orlando beats Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks, God willing, beat the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Knicks are the 2 seed in that scenario.
Yes.
Then, if Indiana wins, Philly is the 7 seed.
Yes.
And we play Philly. Or
we play the winner of the Heat
or
against
Miami.
The Sixers.
You're getting Philly or Miami. Now, here's my question. Indiana, do they still have something to play for on Sunday?
Yes.
To stay out of the play-in potentially?
If they lose on Sunday against the Hawks and Philly wins, they drop to 7. And the Sixers actually drop up. In the scenario that we're talking about, that the Knicks win and the Magic win, the Pacers drop to 7 into that play-in.
Okay.
And the Sixers jump up to 5, actually.
And the Sixers jump up to 5.
We're saying the Magic win Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would be 47-35, but they just lost the tiebreaker tonight to Philly, so the Bucks would be the 4, and the Sixers would be the 5.
Okay, so that means if the Knicks win and Orlando wins and Philly wins and Indiana wins, we're playing the winner of Miami-Philly.
Yes.
Now.
But if the Hawks beat the Pacers, then we're the 2, and we're playing Indiana or Miami.
I don't think Pacers are losing to the Hawks, although... I
don't either. But the Hawks, as you just valiantly pointed out, or pointed out their effort tonight.
They just got a fast break. That's a 1-point game. My goodness gracious. Okay. Yep. Anyway.
Hawks team with nothing to play for, though. So there's a chance that this is their last competitive game until the play-in.
Yeah, but they didn't play anyone tonight, the Hawks. Like, they sat their guys. I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at who they have out there on the floor right now at the end of the fourth quarter. There's nobody.
DeJounte Murray's on the team. Trae Young played tonight.
Yes, but they're not playing.
Oh, you're saying
now.
In crunch time they're not playing anybody.
Okay. So now, different scenario. Milwaukee wins
Milwaukee wins. Okay.
on Sunday.
They're
They
the 2
beat
seed.
Orlando.
They're the 2 seed.
They're the 2 seed. The Knicks win. They're the 3 seed.
Yes.
That means Orlando loses.
They go into the play-in against. So it's fascinating. Do you consider a chance at all that the Heat lose to the Raptors? We're just
No.
giving the Heat a win. So then
Giving the Heat a win.
if Orlando loses and Indiana wins, Orlando's the 8th seed and they play Miami in Miami.
But again, concerning the Knicks, assuming Philly wins, assuming the Knicks win,
That's
Orlando loses to Milwaukee and Indiana wins. Philly's the 6?
The Philly's the 6 and the Pacers and the Cavs are the 4-5.
So if the Knicks win on Sunday and Philly wins on Sunday and Indiana wins on Sunday,
then the Knicks are the 2 and you're saying Orlando wins Sunday?
So this is where I was trying to get to. The 3 things that are likely to happen: Indiana wins, Knicks win, Philly wins.
Mm-hmm.
If those 3 things happen, which they should all happen,
then
the odds are the Knicks will play Philly one way or the other. Either
or
in the
Miami.
2-7 or Miami if Miami beats Philly in the play-in game, which, again, be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
So we are staring at a first-round series with Philly.
Or Miami. Or if the Knicks might lose on Sunday. Who knows?
If we win. And the last thing I want to go over, and then we'll move on to the Super Chats, is if the Knicks tank the game away on Sunday, which I don't even know if they're going to be able to do against whatever Bulls team is going to be out there.
Let's play out the scenario. Give me the floor for a minute, okay?
Yes.
Every home team wins except the Knicks. So the Knicks lose to Chicago on Sunday. So that means Orlando wins. That means Cleveland wins. Miami wins. Philly wins. Everybody else wins. Indiana wins. The Knicks lose. Cleveland gets the 2 because they have the tiebreaker with Milwaukee. Milwaukee's the 3.
And we're
the
the
Knicks
4.
drop to 4 because it'd be a 3-way tie at 49
so they're not
and 33.
tanking this game.
And even more so, the Magic, because they won, they jump up to 5. So the Knicks lose and the Magic win. That's the 4-5. And we're hosting the Magic in the first round. But the Cavs, as now the 2 seed, would get your scenario of playing Philly in the first round.
So, yeah. So I guess you say there's a scenario where, but the Bucks win, and then it wouldn't be the 3-way tie, and it would instead be the Knicks in the 3,
right?
And that would be the Sixers.
No, you got it. The Sixers. Every home team wins except the Knicks and Magic. So the Bucks win and the Bulls win.
Yeah,
the
what
Knicks
happens
are the 3. The Knicks are the 3. They play the Sixers.
So they're not
because the Sixers jump up to.
They're not taking away this game.
Here's the problem: is the Knicks play at 1:00, so they won't know anybody else's result until after.
Well, look, this is all a moot point because the Knicks are not. This organization is not
They're
going to
not tanking.
game.
I think the Knicks are going to get to their 50th win. That's besides the point.
I was going to.
You don't want to play Philly.
I just wanted to go through the hypothetical because there is no world where the Knicks would risk Cleveland winning, which they will, and Milwaukee losing, which they definitely could, and falling down to the 4 in Boston side of the bracket. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I think I'm also one of these people, don't want to play. They share your thoughts. They don't want to play the Sixers, right? A healthy Embiid, although he did have a scare tonight. Who knows how serious that scare is, especially with a week off, right? The way to avoid it is losing, or Indiana loses to Atlanta. That's really the only two ways. Obviously, Philly could lose. Even if Philly loses, they drop into 7, which is like the Knicks result still would be the 2-7.
My point is the Knicks could lose and still get Philly because they could fall to the 3.
They fall to 3.
6,
yep.
1. And I just don't think this. Again, they're not going to lose a game on purpose. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I think 50 wins might be meaningful to them. I don't think they fear anybody, including Philadelphia. But man alive, the fact that after all this, the odds greatly point to the fact that one way or another, the Knicks are going to be facing the Sixers in the first round is wild.
So the funny thing is, I made the point that the game's at 1:00, so the fact that like games later, like they're not going to be able to know what they're playing for. All these games are at the same time. So we will quite literally be scoreboard watching on Sunday. For those who didn't know, John, they might not know that we will be in the fourth quarter against the Bulls on Sunday, not knowing, or at least seeing like, so Philly's up, Indiana's up.
No, listen,
a loss here drops us down to 4. A win here gives us the 2 seed against the winner of Philly, Miami.
We'll know. I mean, and for anybody who's like, well, maybe Philly tanks because they don't want to face the Knicks. Philly's not tanking themselves into the play-in.
It also wouldn't matter. It also wouldn't matter. If Philly tanks and they lose, they're still.
That's right.
They drop to 8. They're in the play-in anyway.
That's right. That's right.
So if Philly loses, that just means they're in the play-in. If they win, they could still end up in the play-in if Orlando wins.
So
and
what
Indiana wins.
So really the only scenario where the Knicks avoid Philly is if Indy loses?
If Indy loses or we lose and there's a 3-way tie for the 2 seed.
In which case we're the 4.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you want to play Orlando first round or you want to play Philly first round? Personally, I'm just done doubting this Knicks team, so bring him on. I would love to. I respect Joel Embiid. I get it. Tibbs, respect your opponent. I'm done doubting this Knicks team.
That guy he's awesome. And
yes, that guy meaning Jalen Brunson, you mean, right? That superstar that's going to finish top 5 MVP.
Fine. You got a first-round series featuring maybe the 2 best players in the East.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're heading for.
Yeah, bring it on. Are you not entertained?
Jesus Christ.
I'm not even talking cash shit. I'm terrified of Philly. It's a really good player on that other team. I believe in my basketball team.
Tyrese Maxey, who's good, a borderline All-NBA guy. He's your second best guy.
Yes, totally. I have an Anunoby. I have a Hulk.
I have an army.
Okay?
You have an army.
We have a Hulk. Okay.
Okay.
So what you're rooting for Sunday, Knicks fans, is in summary, all these teams that need to win except the Bucks play at home. So you're basically, if you're trying to avoid Philly, you need
the Bucks game doesn't matter.
Right. Can I finish? The Magic win and the Pacers lose.
You need the Pacers game is the key game.
Right, but no, because if the Bucks win, they're the 2, and we play the 3-6. Because if the Pacers lose, you would need the. Oh, you know what? Knicks win, they get to 50. Bucks win, they get to 50. That's the other way. So a Pacers loss would actually help because they dropped to 8.
How would that help?
So if the Bucks and Hawks win, okay, the Bucks get 2.
Not gonna happen.
The Knicks get 3. I'm just playing the scenario out, John.
I know.
Bucks and Hawks win. Knicks are the 3. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Because the Bucks won, the Magic would then be 46-36. We're, again, giving Miami their win. The Magic would be the 7. The Pacers, because they lost to the Hawks, would drop to 8.
And
it's Knicks Heat.
In the first round.
3-6.
That would be wild. Okay, let's do some super chats.
You got it.
Thank you, Andrew, so much for coming on.
I'm sure I helped.
This is wild. Josh Hart by the way, on the Knicks clinching home court advantage in the first round. I heard the lights are really bright at MSG that time. There you go. Okay. Nick Noled. JB looked like garbage in the first quarter and still dropped 30. Yeah, I mean, excuse to talk about that first quarter. Nick Claxton's a really good switch defender, and he showed it. And I think, but even like there was an edge missing from Brunson's game offensively. And I think there was an edge missing from the Knicks because they were not, even when they did get the Claxton not matched up on Brunson, like Brunson wasn't really, I don't know, he wasn't getting into his spots as comfortably. He just didn't kind of, they were definitely not, all the way there on offense in the first half. But to his credit, he just finds a way. He finds the will to do it, and he does it. And that is such a credit to him. And 30 points. And like it looked like the Nets for a quarter, and really, honestly, for like a lot of the half, had like not figured him out, but like really put the clamps on. So credit to Jalen Brunson. Thanks. Good way to start us off. Greg B, what's going on, Greg? Can't believe these Knicks, who we've watched for years, have become a third quarter, second half team. 21-22 was a long time ago. This is the Brunson era. Bring on anyone. So that's the attitude I think a lot of Knicks fans are going to have, right? Is give us Philly, give us Miami, give us Indiana, give us whoever you're going to give us. We got this, right? We got this. And they've earned that right. They've earned that right. This team is going to win potentially 50 games against incredible odds. I went through it in a Substack chat earlier today, talking about how all the games missed from between Julius and Mitch and OG and what they traded to get OG and how big a part of the rotation those guys were. I mean, it's just, they've done everything that they have needed to do. And it's pretty special. And yeah, they're not a team that likes to resort to flipping a switch too much, but like when it's winning time, they usually are able to come through, which is really kind of cool to have a team that does that. Good stuff, Greg. Thanks for that. Nez Law, what's going on? Mitch made us proud tonight. Such heart. Great team win. I completely agree with it. That was a great team win. That was a great team win. Because for as much as Brunson gave them a lot of points, they needed Josh Hart. They needed OG Anunoby. They needed Mitchell Robinson. I even shouted him out at the beginning. I think they needed the buckets, the couple of buckets that they got from Bojan Bogdanović. So they needed all of those things. And they weren't going to win this game without all of those things. And credit to them for getting what they needed to get. Absolutely. Thanks, Nesla. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? Thank you for the generous contribution. Mitch getting his legs, JB ascending, Bojan finding it, OG stepping to Cam like a serial killer. That was a fun moment, man. That was fun. When OG was like, no. After, give the Nets credit. They threw a lot of screening. They got OG off Cam a couple times there in the fourth quarter. But Cam couldn't do anything with OG. And then for OG to be the one to get in his face and kind of really indoctrinate himself into this franchise, officially, the fans were chanting his name. That's cool. I will be at MSG Sunday to watch the 2-seed clinched with my own eyes. Hashtag 2-seed, hashtag Eastern Conference Finals, hashtag Jeremy Jam undefeated. I like it. Yeah, look, as you guys can surely tell, I have a lot of respect for Philly. If that's who they end up facing, whether it's as a 2-seed or a 3-seed, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But to potentially be the 2-seed over the Bucks, what that would say, I think, about the organization this year. And I don't know. I guess I need to wrap well, no, I'm not going to say that. You guys know me by now well enough. I think about all scenarios, and I think about how different scenarios would play out, what the narrative would be, and all those things. If it is Knicks Philly, I have a tough time feeling like we're going to come out of that series being disappointed in our team, win or lose. And I mean that because they just play so damn hard, and they're so solid. When they have their full complement of players, they're so solid. So, see what happens. Thanks, Anthony. Kevin Danishevsky. What's going on, Kev? Remember when people were calling OG soft, LOL? I have a thought on that I'll get back to momentarily. Mitch getting there. Meaning getting back. Despite some rough moments, he had a good game. Hard. These playoff scenarios make my head spin. Well, you just saw me react to Andrew Claudio doing everything that he did. Yeah, I'm like the girl from The Exorcist. The OG soft thing was always ridiculous. And like, just like you can't extrapolate out stuff that doesn't deserve to be extrapolated out. And on that note, you know who I haven't seen a tweet from in a little while? Florida man. What's he doing? Covering a lot of tennis, I'm sure. For the old Palm Beach Post. Was it Palm Beach Post Dispatch, I think? I don't even know. Mark. Love you, Mark. Thanks, Kevin. Chiclet. I love seeing OG being an enforcer, having JB's back. Yeah. Look, I praised Cam Thomas before. The dude's a punk. The dude is an absolute punk, and it was a punk move. Did JB sell it a little bit? Maybe. Still a punk move to do that at the end there. And, like, he could score all the points he wants, and he's I don't know. I think it says a lot that I think there's a lot of fans around the league who wouldn't necessarily want him on their team. But yeah, man, OG. I mean, he looks the part, right? That dude is massive. He is massive. He's intimidating. Someone, the other night was saying, who was at the game, like seeing in firsthand how big he is, was just like that. Thought that was notable. Thanks, Chicklet. Rob Thelusma, what's going on, my friend? So we've been playing with half a team for most of the season, and I'm supposed to sweat the Nets, JM? Please. The Knicks will kick your ass. Much love. You respect your opponent, no matter who it is. Got to come ready to play. And if you don't have... I think it's a couple of factors. For one, a lot of talent in the league. And if that talent gets hot, and pretty much everybody can shoot it, if that talent gets hot, and boy, were Lonnie Walker and Cam Thomas hot in the first half, you put yourself in a tough position. Again, I just had 2 games on where the Wolves were struggling to close out the end of the bench guys for the Hawks, and the Lakers barely survived a game against whatever is left of the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, the NBA, there's a reason that they feel comfortable with expansion, is because they feel like they have the talent. The talent is there in the league. And then it's like, you are a little cold, and like you don't have your full complement of players. Like no Hartenstein mattered so much in this game, I thought. Less in the second half because Mitch was a boss. But even then, it's like their offense changes a lot when Hartenstein's not in there. But it's great to see Mitch back regardless. Thanks, Rob. Dave Murray, thank you for the contribution. If you have a comment, Kev will make sure to get it up there. By the way, shout out to Kev. He is once again on the 1s and 2s. Bernard Richardson. The New Jersey Nets stink. Move the team. Maybe this is a stupid question. When we talk about expansion or relocation or any of those sorts of things, like, I guess they're not planning on moving any teams, but there's all these different cities that get bandied about, obviously with Vegas and Seattle being the top 2 that people talk about, but there are definitely other cities out there that like don't have a team that would probably really want a team and that could support a team as far as having the people to go and all that stuff. Like, would the Nets be the first pick in terms of like teams to move? Just because their fan base is so apathetic, and like who would really care if the Brooklyn Nets moved, other than 87 people in Brooklyn? I don't know. Probably no one. Thanks, Bernard. By the way, shout out to the Knicks, tied up the all-time season series against the Nets, so that's pretty cool. Wilton Moran, what's going on, Wilton? Mitch getting slight pressure free throw attempts is good prep for the playoffs. We'll likely see the scenario again. Maybe. I was reminded in the chat during the playback, because I had forgotten it, frankly, that we saw that against Miami last year in I think it was Game 5. So the thing I'll say about that also, I know he's a goofball. He's definitely a goofball. And look, you could almost certainly say this about anybody that makes it this far in professional sports. Mitch is a really prideful guy, and like you saw it there on the broad, like when he was at the line, and Breen kind of verbalizing he hates the fact that they're putting him on the line intentionally, you know. So I think it probably meant a lot to him, which is big. Give the dude credit. Give him, I mean, and it's so cool that he's back and healthy for this playoff run, whatever it turns into, because he's the longest tenured Knick. You know, 6 year with the team. That's it's an eternity with this franchise. An eternity. Thanks, Wilton. Sam Garcia's dad. What's up, Ray? Nets came out fired up for their last playoff game this season. # 2 seed. Yeah, they were. I thought they were fired up. I mean, look, Cam's fired up anytime he gets to shoot a basketball. I think they came out and played really hard on defense. And I think they played really hard on defense. And look, like, to their credit, the Nets have a bunch of guys who are like playing for NBA jobs. Like, and Cam Thomas, like, he may not be playing for a job. He's definitely playing for a contract. But like all the rest of these guys, like I'll pull it up, their roster right now. I don't think a lot of these guys have like deals guaranteed for next year. Like Cam Johnson does. He wasn't playing tonight. Mikal Bridges does. He wasn't really instrumental tonight. Like, he talk about not a great end of season for Mikal Bridges. Maybe he's trying to tank his own trade value. I don't know. Nick Claxton's playing for a contract. Noah Clowney's a rookie. Dorian Finney-Smith has a contract. He didn't play tonight, you know? But like all these other guys, like they're playing for real stuff. So it was not Trendon Wofford. That dude's been trying to make it in the league. He was in Portland. Now he's in Brooklyn. Like, not surprised to see them play with that level of effort. So, yeah. Thank you, Ray. Jackson McCloskey. What's going on, Jackson McCloskey? Hearing the crowd chant OG, it might have been moment of the year for me. Seeing him so integrated into the culture is awesome. Let's fucking go, Knicks. Amen to that. I just love OG Anunoby. I love watching him play. And I love watching the team play when he's out there, because he fits so freaking well with how they want to play. Obviously, on defense, goes without saying, on defense, he fits really well, but on offense too. You know, it's like, it's really, 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 really rare that I see a shot from OG Anunoby and I'm like, that wasn't a great shot. You know, like, there was one tonight that was like a long two, but it was the end of the clock, and like he kind of didn't really have a choice but to shoot it, and he made it. You know, so really fun player. I hope we see it for a long time. I expect them to sign him to a contract that's going to pay him an obscene amount of money in a few months. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Thanks, Jackson. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Of course it is. Thibs should not fall for the Doc Rivers mousetrap in trying to hand us the 2 seed. Thibs should rest everyone with a pulse on Sunday. # this is the way. Love KFS. So here's the thing. I don't think Milwaukee's trying to do that, because if Milwaukee loses and Cleveland wins on Sunday, Cleveland gets the 3, Milwaukee gets the 4. And Milwaukee is on Boston's side of the bracket. And I don't think I don't. Unless Doc Rivers is playing some sort of 4D chess that I'm not familiar with, I don't think he's trying to get on Boston's side of the bracket. I also think it would be organizationally viewed as a fucking disaster if the Bucks landed in the 4-5 and lost in the second round to Boston. And you do. So, and as we just went through, took us a while to get there, but we got there. Falling to the 3 seed, you still might end up playing Philly. So, thanks, Frank. John Sands, what's going on? John, indulge me in some pre-playoffs time travel for my all-time favorite Knick. This is an interesting one. Where would Peak Starks fit on this team? Deuce minutes? Dante? I'd love to finally get him the championship he deserved. That's a good question. My only question is, Starks. Honestly, I think the same problems that plagued him then are the problems that would plague him now. Is that he's an undersized 2-guard, as a defender, and you saw what bigger guards could do against him. One in particular that wore a red jersey, but then again, he took advantage of a lot of guys. Starks was like a borderline all defense guy. He may have even made an all defense team at some point. I should know that. I'll look that up. Would he be a starter on a good team? I have to think if John Starks was in the league today, he'd be an even better shooter than he was then, because shooting is just emphasized so much more. And I bet you he'd be a good enough starter, but he didn't go to Villanova, so no, I'm kidding. He could inhabit the DiVincenzo role for sure. And I think he'd be, off the bench, he'd be that dude would be an asset. He'd be their sixth man. As currently constituted, or as their roster is currently constructed, he'd be a sixth man. He did make all defense. He made all defense in 92-93. Bad job of me that I forgot that. But he got close a couple other years. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, he barely made the all defense team in 92-93. He barely missed it in 93-94. Those are the 2 big years for him defensively, and then he got votes for it in 4 other years. Thanks, John. Good question. I like that. Shooting. If you could shoot, you could play in this era. As long as you could play a little defense. Phrase Vader. What's going on, Phrase Vader? Let's go ahead and clap it up for the simulation. He had a few shaky moments, but did well overall. Had a huge block and didn't give up. Hashtag, let's freaking go, Knicks. The simulation. Is that the simulation? Why am I drawing a blank? Am I just wait, no, that's not it. I was thinking of the Tibbs clip that's been flying around. I don't know if Andrew's watching me. He could clue me in because I obviously sound like an idiot at the moment. I'll get clued into who the hell we're talking. Are we talking about Mitch? Did overall? Is he the simulation? Why would Mitch be the simulation? I don't know. Kev, anybody, let me know who we're referring to. Oh, Sims. Oh, I get it. The simulation. That's fine. Sims played better in the second half. I will give him that. He played better in the third quarter. I thought the first half minutes were, for the most part, extraordinarily not good. And I also was happy that he was not out there in the fourth quarter. I'll say that. But what does he get? Does he get a C+ for this game? A C? I'll be curious what Benji winds up giving him. Thanks, Phrase Vader. Juanon. What's going on, Juanon? Wonder what Ben Simmons was doing tonight. Was he in the arena? I didn't notice. Any matchups outside of our own that you are hoping for? I'll get back to that in a second. Praying some combo with Philly and Miami ends up in the Boston, Milwaukee, and we end up with whatever's left. So basically at this point, it sounds like you're rooting for You're probably gonna have to root for Miami in the playing game. Which, like, can Miami beat Philly in the playing game? Like, yeah, absolutely, they could beat Philly in the playing game. If a Miami team beats Philly in the playing game, am I going to be dancing in the aisles that we get to see that fucking Heat team again? You want to talk about exercising demons? There's your demons. You want to talk about. So here's the thing, right? Which is like, and again, I've talked about this before. I'm always worried about what the narrative is going to be. How is it going to play? What are the vibes going to be heading into the offseason? I think the vibes are going to be pretty not down. Like, they're not going to be great if they lose in the first round, regardless of who they lose to or how they lose or how many games they lose. Like, this team wants to make a run, and we want them to make a run, and we believe they can make a run. So the vibes aren't going to be great if they lose in the first round, regardless of who they lose to or how they lose. That said, if they play Philly and that series, goes 7 games or 6, even maybe 6 games, probably needs to go 7, and Joel Embiid has the series of his playoff life and looks like the guy who can be the best player in the sport, and Maxey has a good series, and Harris has a good series, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys have a decent series, and not through any fault of the Knicks defense, like, my guess is you're probably you're going to be disappointed, but you're going to tip your cap. If the Knicks lose to the fucking Heat again, I struggle to imagine a scenario where that would not engender a lot of extraordinarily negative vibes, like very negative vibes heading into the off season. So, but like, hey, you want to lose intentionally on Sunday and hope to drop to 4 into Boston side of the bracket? Like, I mean, you probably get you definitely get an easier first round series, right? Against Magic. That'd be good. But is that what we want? I don't know. Thanks, Juanon. Sam Garcia. Can we all take 10 seconds to laugh at the Nets? I think Andrew's gone. I'll give you a couple chuckles. How about that? I'm not good at the hearty har laughter, but that made me laugh, and they should be laughed at to some extent. I don't know what the Nets are going to do this offseason. I don't know what they're going to do. They have some decisions in front of them that, like, I probably wouldn't love to have. Like, do you extend Cam Thomas this summer? What do you extend them for? We talked about it a little bit tonight. The Nick Claxton unrestricted free agency. They got a couple other guys on their team that, like, do we trade them? Do we? And here's the thing: they don't have their pick, right? They don't have control of their pick for the foreseeable future, which is a problem for them. Thanks, Sam. Lucas Brum, what's going on, Lucas? First time, long time. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you for the generous contribution. Been listening avidly since COVID, and just wanted to say KFS is the best part of being a Knicks fan. Thank you for an excellent season. Man, I love when we get these comments. Thank you so much. I mean, this team's been awesome, so it's made our job very easy to be an accompaniment to this team because they just make it so easy. This is such a likable. It's such an easy. It's the easiest group to love since I've been a fan. Like, we've talked a lot about, is it the best team in the since like the 90s and 92, 93, whatever. I don't know. It's definitely the most likable. I don't know how you don't love this team. They just make it so easy. They try so hard, and they're good. They might win 50 games. So thank you. And I remember the COVID days well. That was quite a time. That was quite a time. And I think I needed this as much as maybe other people did. So yeah. Thanks, Lucas. Lucas with another one. Also, almost certain we get the Sixers now. 2-7 or 3-6. Yep. Okay, only way we don't is if we lose and the Bucks lose. This team shouldn't duck anyone, but Philly is scary. No, they're absolutely scary. The other scenario is Indiana losing, and what I forget, frankly, what the hell the scenario was. But probably getting Philly. Which, listen, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. I'm not excited about that in comparison to how I would feel about some other matchups. If it turns out to be that, we'll see. They could beat them, though. They could beat that team. They're capable of beating that team. They won't be picked to win, but they're capable of beating them. Thank you, Lucas. FaZe Vader with another one. Knicks win, Mets win. Is the Eclipse back? Let's fucking go Mets. Well, a Mets win might seem like the Eclipse, but we could thank God we could retire those jokes. About the next one was a total solar eclipse. Thank goodness. Thanks, FaZe Vader. Ja so focused. Come on, Bucks, take that L to Orlando. So Ja, unconcerned about who we will face. He just wants the 2 seed, which I respect, by the way. I mean, since they were the 2 in 96, 97, right? I should remember this. So in terms of Knicks teams of yore, they were in 96, 97. Why can't I find the freaking standings from that year? Standings. Here we go. 96, 97. Expanded standings. Yeah, here we go. Why can't I find why is basketball references being unfriendly to me at the moment? But I'm pretty sure they were the 2 seed in 96, 97 season. Yeah, there we go. No, they were the 3 seed. They were the 3 seed to Miami. How dare I forget that Game 7 was in Miami. That's a bad job by me. So the point of me going down that little memory lane, how many times since I've been watching this team has this team been a top 2 seed? It was the 2nd seed in the 2012-13 season, and it was the number 1 seed in 93-94. So if they're the 2 seed, it will be only the 2nd time in the last 30 years that they will be a top 2 seed, unless I'm forgetting a season, which I don't think I am. Pretty sure I'm not. That's pretty wild. Thanks, Ja. Sean with a W. Hello, friend. Zach with an H was in MSG. The streak is over. That's important. That's important because I would have hated for him to see that team, them lose to this Nets team, especially with after they came back and if they lost on some Cam Thomas 3-pointer or something. I just would have been sick to my stomach. Thanks, Sean. And shout out to Zach with an H. Dom Cappuccini, I am extremely proud of our guys and particularly Mitch. I actually feel additionally encouraged about our squad going into the playoffs. At least no Jericho or Burks minutes. Come then. LOL. Big win. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, let's take a second to just tonight, tough game against the Nets. Not an easy win, the whole thing. How representative was this of what you're going to see in the playoffs? Well, you got 11 Burks minutes. You're not going to get any Burks minutes. You got 8 Precious minutes. Odds are you're not going to get any Precious minutes. So we're up to 19 minutes. You got 23 Sims minutes. Odds you're definitely not getting any Sims minutes. Again, this is all assuming no injury. So now we are up to 42 minutes. And then you get Bogey 19 minutes, which I could see Bogey giving them 19 minutes in a playoff game, but I could also with Deuce back, and if Bogey doesn't really have it, if you limit him to 10, 11, 12. So that's essentially like the minutes of a full player, like 48 minutes, right? About 48 minutes tonight were played with guys that will not see any time in a playoff game. So, and you saw the difference, to say nothing of the fact that this was the second night of a back-to-back, which you're not going to have in the playoffs. Thanks, Tom. Every reason to be proud of this team. Kane Marco, take Mob General. What's going on, man? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Your fear of Philly annoys me, sir. None of these teams can beat us. Knicks in 6. Look, I hope you're right. I'm sorry for I know full well that I'm annoying people when I take the stance that I do against Philly or with Philly. And look, all of you, if we play Philly in the first round and we curb stomp them or beat them in 6 even, everybody should come on here and absolutely throw it back in my face and be like, Macri, you've little faith. You were worried about this team. How dare you? Nothing would make me happier. I promise you that nothing would make me happier. I have a certain level of respect for all-time great players. And Joel Embiid is an all-time great player at well, could we say he's at the peak of his powers? I don't know. Like, we'll see. We'll see how many minutes he can play if he's on any kind of a restriction. As far as that team, like, I mean, their starting lineup was like the best 5-man lineup in the league when Embiid went down with the injury, and when they had Melton and Batum and everything. Like, they're a bear. They're a bear, and they're a bear on both ends. See what happens. Thanks, Kane. Dom Cappuccini, bogey minutes were good enough. I'll take it. Yeah, I know he was 3 of 11. I thought he played okay. I thought the shots that he missed were good shots. I thought his process was good. The only one I didn't like was he had the opportunity at one point. I forget when it was, but he had an opportunity to pull up for like a little mid-ranger, which for most players you might not want, but for him, like, that's a money shot. And instead he kept driving it into the lane. It was just an ugly turnover. Other than that, though, I thought Bogey was solid. And I didn't. The other part of it, though, like, when he was in there in the second quarter for OG, or maybe, sorry, not second quarter, at the end of the first quarter, pretty sure he played at end of first quarter minutes, unless I'm imagining this. But when OG left and he basically had the Cam Thomas assignment, that was ugly. But that'll never happen in the playoffs. Yeah, he came in at the end of the first. Thanks, Tom. Charlie Boy third. Hey, John, Sixers Heat Pacers. Who cares? Let's go. None of those teams want to see us in the first round. I wonder, like, how much any of these teams at this point are like, well, we don't want to see this, we don't want to see that. Even like Boston. Like, I wonder if there isn't a certain modicum of, like, hey, if we're going to do anything this year, we got to go through Boston anyway. Everyone's going to pick Boston against us. They now got their 63rd win tonight. They might get their 64th win on Sunday. They're going to finish with one of the all-time best net ratings in the league. I wonder if teams are just like, fuck it. We'll go in. We'll take our chance. Play loosey-goosey. If we lose, okay, great. Nobody picked us to win anyway. Who cares? But if we win, well, then that looks pretty good. So I really, like, I don't know. Like, I know coaches, as they are preparing to play us, they will know that it will be a pain in the ass to play us. I know that, but I don't know if anybody fears anybody. We'll see. Thanks, Charlie Boy third. Sam Garcia, what's going on? Sam Garcia, thank you for another generous contribution. We'll have the best player on the court every game. Bring on Jimmy. Bring on the perennial choker in Philly. We can beat anyone. I don't care who we play. Again, I know Joel Embiid has not had the best playoff history. I get that. Like, we could go through it. It's not great. He has had some big playoff games. He has not been a good playoff player in comparison to what he has done in the regular season. There's no question about that. Look, I've been saying it for years. So this is not me. This is not a Johnny come lately thing. I've been saying it for literally years. 1 year, that dude's going to be able to rampage through the playoffs and take a team to the finals. If we play them this year, I just hope it's not now. That's all. Thanks, Sam. Row 1 Senior. Love you, John. I know you suffer from Knicks PTSD. I do as well. Our team finally deserves your belief. Believe. We have the boogeyman now. The boogeyman. Oh, we have the boogeyman. Jalen Brunson's the boogeyman. I hear you. Look, I believe in them. I believe they could win that series. I might even get to a place where I will sit here and say with my full chest, I believe we will win that series. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I think I'll get there. I know two things. I hate that I've turned into like the guy who's pouring cold water all over this team, which I love and adore. Like, that's not my role. My role is supposed to be to swing the pom-poms. That's what they deserve, right? This team has earned 50 fucking wins they're on the verge of. They deserve to have the pom-poms waved by anyone who roots for this team. And I love this team. And I think they can win. And there's no series that they're going to be out of, regardless of who they play, including Boston and certainly Philly. Like, really, 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 really good teams, dare I say even great teams, lose in the playoffs sometimes. The example, I was talking to Robert Cross, who I don't know if we're going to hear from Robert tonight, but because him, like you, like a lot of people, are like, give me Philly, who gives a shit? And I like the one example. This is just one example. There are other examples. One example that came to my mind was the 2014-15 Spurs, the defending world champs, who came off of a finals in which they played as good a basketball as I've ever seen a team play in my lifetime, probably, in terms of like team ball. I'm actually going to look it up right now. That team, I think that was the 3-6 matchup, but I'm going to double check. That team won. What am I looking at here? That team won 55 games. No, it couldn't have been the 3-6 matchup. Yeah, that team won 55 games. It was the 4-5 actually. So Clippers had home court. Or maybe the Clippers. Sorry, maybe the Clippers were the 3 seed and they hosted the Spurs, who was a 6 seed. Either way, that was a 55 win Spurs team. And they were really good, and that series went 7, and it was a dogfight. It's probably the best first round series I've ever seen, and the Spurs lost. Now, that year, could you say that they were the second or third or fourth best team in the league? I don't know. Maybe. But they got beat by another really, really great team in the first round. Like that, shit like that happens. And that's the only reason why I'm like, there are matchups that I would have rather had than Philly. And again, we don't necessarily have Philly yet. We don't necessarily have them. So, yeah, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Thanks, Rowan. Keith DePalma. I don't see a comment, but thank you for the generous contribution. Oh, here we go. Longtime listeners, first-time caller. Bring on the Sixers, Giannis, Bucks, Celtics, and the best out west. Want to be the best, got to beat the best. I always forget what the this fucking team. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Why not us? Okay, I got there. I'm terrible with the acronyms. You know me by now. They could beat anybody. They could beat anybody. They deserve our praise in that respect. They absolutely could beat anyone. I appreciate you chiming in. I appreciate you chiming in for the first time with this sentiment. It deserves to be. Like you guys are like you're hyping me up. You're hyping me up. You really are. And I agree. You got to be. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Beat the best. And like playoff tests will only strengthen this team's mettle. You know, it'll only strengthen this team's mettle. So, yeah, for sure. Thanks, Keith. Danny Gardner, what's going on, Danny? I have been lucky enough to see my favorite sports teams win 3 championships. I've been a sports fan all my life. Very few guys, none on my own teams, have ever instilled belief in me the way that Jalen Brunson does. I can't help but get the feeling when I watch him that he's going to win here. He is inevitable. Love it. That's a listen. Anytime you're gonna pull a Thanos in a post game, I'm here for it. Totally here for it. Love me a good Thanos quote. I would say the same thing. I mean, Mariano, back in a past life when I used to root for the Yankees, growing up, Mariano was pretty close. He might have been the most inevitable thing in sports. And Tiger, but that back in the day, Tiger. Shout out Tiger Woods making the cut. 24th consecutive Masters, set a record. Pretty cool. But that's not a team sport. But yeah, JB is right there. And I think he's going to win here. We'll see. We'll see if they have enough this year to make a big run. I feel responsible, some responsibility to try to keep things in perspective. This team has already achieved so much, and they've already done what I don't think anybody would have thought they could do, knowing what the injuries have been. And they've done it anyway because they're freaking hard, tough as nails, and they're just they go out there and they know what they're doing on every possession of every game. And that's a tough team to play against, whether you are whoever you are, as Boston found out last night. Thanks, Danny. Hush, Sue. What's going on? Hush. Excuse me. What are the chances the Knicks stick with the same team for next season, minus Burks? Also, Burks is a disgrace. He should not touch our court again. Well, he had to tonight because they just didn't have enough guys. I think it depends on the postseason. I think there's definitely a chance. There's definitely a chance, especially like if there's no player that becomes available via trade that they feel is a definitive upgrade given what they would have to give up. Like the only trade that they are going to make, which would upset the core of this team and bring in a star player, is a trade that they believe would make them an inner circle title contender, like one of the 3 or 4 favorites in the league. And there's a chance that they feel like their best version of achieving that status would be to just keep the same team that they have right now, bringing Julius back and not making a trade. Again, depending on what opportunities are out there. I also think that may change depending on how they do in the playoffs. Thanks, Hush. I can't put a percentage chance on it, though. 25, 30, 35, 50. Something like that. Kiwi. What's going on, Kiwi? Very excited to hear the discourse out of Philly around Embiid's future when they lose to us in round 1. Hashtag Embiid who. Hashtag we all we need. Hashtag why not now? Well, you want to talk about DEF CON? What's higher than DEF CON 1? Is there a DEF CON 0? If Embiid was healthy for the whole first round and they played the Knicks and the Knicks beat them, Now, look, the Sixers have some moves to make this summer. I saw another report today, about speculation with Paul George. My Paul George. They're gonna go after him in free agency. Man, if that fucking team gets Paul George, that would be tough for anybody that would have to play them. I'll just say that. So, but will they? I don't know. But the amount of pressure that would be on them, I mean, but again, that's like a lot of teams potentially this summer. Like, I know Giannis extended before the season. If that team bows out in unceremonious fashion in the playoffs, Milwaukee I'm talking about, I'd be maybe not shocked. I'd be mildly surprised at the very least if Giannis doesn't start, getting a little antsy. To say nothing of, like, I don't know what might happen in Phoenix. Well, Phoenix are probably just going to fire the coach. But, yeah, maybe one or two other places. Thanks, Kiwi. Dane NYK. Good day from Australia, John. Mitch hitting free throws. You love to see it. Philly in the playoffs. Knicks in 5. # why not now? My goodness, the belief. This is inspiring. The amount of belief that the Knicks have instilled in all of us, this fan base. Maybe not me as fully on board as some are. Or at least, here's the thing. I'm like, with the Knicks in 5 and Knicks in 6 is like, that's like aggressive. I think, again, I will get there where I'll be like, we will beat Philly. I think we will beat Philly. I believe we will beat Philly. I'm kind of there. I'm very close. I need to think it through. I really need to think about the matchups. But I'm not going to do that until we're definitely playing them. But even then, when I presume I get there, it'll be like, man, this is going to be hard as nails. And it's going to be a tough series. Just talented team. But I love where everybody else is at. I wish I was there with you. Thanks, Dean. Alex with another one. OG was rough in the first half, but absolutely exceptional in the second half. I mean, he missed shots. In the first half. I thought he had a couple of rough attempts at the rim throughout the game. I think at least one was in the first half. Maybe both were in the first half. But boy, did he make up for it. Yeah, we don't win without that run he led. Now finish it off for Chicago. Billy Donovan is on the permanent shit list if he plays his starters. Listen, Billy Donovan should be able to play whoever the hell he wants, and the Knicks should be able to win that game. We're sitting here talking about bring on Philly, bring on Milwaukee, bring on Boston, bring on this, bring on that. Knicks at 5, Knicks at 6. We have enough, yada, yada, yada. Beat the fucking Bulls at home on Sunday. I don't care if they bring Scottie Pippen out of retirement or whatever. Beat the Bulls. Home, last day of the season. You want to win the game? Go win the game. Which I presume that they will want to win the game. But yeah, I don't know what Billy. I bet you actually he starts his guys at the very least. Like starts DeRozan, starts Vooch, gets him a little run, and then maybe they don't play in the second half or something like that. That's what my bet would be. Thanks, Alex. OG team. I'm more afraid of Kyle Lowry than Embiid in the playoffs. That is a diss. Oh, my goodness. Is that a diss? The guy hasn't been terrible, to be clear. Like, he's had his, I mean, look, I don't know, unless I'm just, I know it hasn't been great. I know it has not been great, but let me look up his game log from last year's postseason. Specific, I don't care what he did against the Nets, but against Boston. 15 on 9 shots in the first game. Philly got killed. He didn't play a lot. He was a minus 23. Game 2, they also lost that. 30 points on 19 field goals. Got to the line 12 times. Pulled down 13 rebounds. Pretty good. Next game, 34. Philly won the game by 1. 34 and 13. 11 to 26 from the field, not great. Next game, also a Philly win. Sorry, I forgot he missed game 1 against Boston, which Harden exploded, and they won that game. That's my bad. So win, loss. They lost his first 2 games, then they won his next 2. I said 33 on 10 to 23. And then here's the big ones. Game 6, at home, in your building, Joel Embiid played 40 minutes to get to the line 8 times, made all 8, 26 points on 19 shots, but disappeared in the fourth quarter, was nowhere to be found in that fourth quarter whatsoever. And then absolutely eviscerated in unceremonious, disgraceful fashion, 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting. Took 4 threes, missed them all in that game 7 against Boston. At Boston, lost by 24 points. But it really was the fourth quarter in game 6. At home, you had the lead, and Embiid was just nowhere to be found. Now, the one thing I will say in regards to that, he gunned for an MVP last year. He gunned for an MVP, and he got it. But how gassed was he in the playoffs? What is he like right now? Is he rested? Is that rest offset by whatever's going on with his knee? I don't know. Thanks, OG team. Jackson McCloskey. I understand we didn't see it tonight, but this Knicks offense reminds me of the 2015 Warriors light. JB's Steph, DiVincenzo's Clay, OG's Barnes on roids. Hart is Draymond. So I'll go first of all, somebody brought this up today in the Substack chat. Again, shout out to all my Knicks Film School newsletter subscribers. Appreciate you guys more than you know. Love that conversation that happens on that just in the comment section, in the chat every day. That team won 67 games. And obviously Steph won MVP. One of the, I don't know, it's one of the 15 greatest offensive seasons ever. Steph that year. He was in the midst of a stretch where he was playing at that level offensively. They were special. You had Draymond, best or second best defensive player in the sport. You had Klay Thompson playing at an all-defense level. He just missed making the all-defense team that year. And I think the comp more for OG, I think, is more the Iggy role. It's a combination of like Iggy and Barnes. And then for the Green role, it's like a combination of like, if you combined Josh Hart and like Isaiah Hartenstein, I think you probably get like Draymond Green. So, the comparisons don't work perfectly, but like, and also I think we diminish probably how great Klay Thompson was. Like Klay Thompson was an All-NBA guy at his peak. DiVincenzo, maybe he's not quite to that level. Defensively, he's not at that level because Klay just had more size. And Brunson, obviously I've been singing his praises. This guy's top 5 offensive player in the league, if not top 3, top 4. What Steph was able to do and the pressure he was able to put on defenses was like, again, it was like one of the 5 or 10 greatest things we've ever seen. It literally changed the sport of basketball. And like that season was like the season where it all came to a head. So, and the other thing I'll say real quick, the versatility that they had where they could go with the Bogut lineup, Bogut at the 5 where they were a bear, or the Death lineup where they were even more of a bear. And they had these bench pieces, with I think it was Barbosa on that team and Livingston and like all these guys. Like, look, 67-win team. And even then, I will note, did not necessarily have the hardest road in the playoffs. All due respect to the grit and grind Grizz and the Harden Dwight Rockets. And they faced the Cavs team that was hurt in the finals and was still up 2-1. So similarities, yes. I can't yet put the Knicks on that level, but I think we're trending in that direction. Thanks, Jackson. Huzzoo. Joe Tsai saying his team is more for money rather than being competitive is the cherry on top. You know, I saw something pass. I was scrolling briefly earlier today and I saw his face and I was like, what is it? And I forgot to watch the clip. I guess that's what it is. Back to dumps y'all go. Back to Jersey. Karma is here. Again, nobody gives a shit about the Nets. The Nets players don't give a shit about the Nets. The Nets players to this team, they are strangers in the night. You know, they're here for a good time, not a long time. Like, this team has no culture. They have no imprint. They have no nothing. They are an empty shoebox. Something was once there. It was promising. It was nice. And now it's just like, all right, what are we putting in here? Who's next? What's next up? I don't know. Thanks, Hush. Sam Garcia with another one. Thank you again for the generosity, Sam. Also, what has Sean Marks done to deserve the right to hire a fourth head coach? I'd love to have that type of job security. Seems amazing. Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kyrie wanted to come play for his childhood franchise. That's what Sean Marks has done. You know, and he unearthed some nice talent where in places you don't usually find it. He unearthed Spencer Dinwiddie way back in the day. He unearthed Joe Harris way back in the day. You know, he got Jared Allen, nice draft pick for him. But also a lot of what he was able to do, for instance, getting D'Angelo Russell, who turned into an all-star, who kind of helped put them back on the map. That was a result of the fact that they were just such an abject disaster that they were not trying to win games, and they were embracing the fact that they had traded away their picks and that nobody cared about them, and there was no expectations to win anything. So he outsourced their cap space, and that's how they ended up with D'Angelo Russell. So, like, even that should get an asterisk. But yeah, he unearthed some players, and he talks a good game, and Kyrie Irving wanted to play for his childhood basketball team. That's what Sean Marks has done. Thanks, Sam. Juan Cruz, what's going on, Juan? Hey, John, not a new take, but kudos to the front office for identifying the players that just fit. OG, DiVincenzo, iHeart, Josh Hart, and seeing JB's talent and upside, and hiring Tibbs to build the culture. Let's go. I think this was always the vision, Juan. I think it's why Tibbs was always going to be the coach. I think they saw this franchise. They got here. They saw the overhaul that was needed, and not just with the roster. And I think they knew, maybe not as a permanent guy, although I think he's done enough to stick around for a while, but they knew they needed someone like a Tibbs, and which is not really saying much because there's really not anybody else like him specifically. They knew they needed that to just like gut renovation, complete and total gut renovation of the culture. And you could have a negative culture, and they just look at Brooklyn now. They had a negative culture, and it started with Tibbs, and then, you know, the buy-in of the guys that were initially here. It was a tough sledding to go out and get guys that actually want to play here. They tried to go out and get Fred VanVleet early on, who is a good culture guy. You're seeing that with Houston this year. He wanted no part of coming to this franchise, you know, which says a lot. But yeah, and then it all changed. And then, like, for as important as Tibbs was, as important as Randall was, like, you know, changed when they got Jalen Brunson. And then from there, it was the realization that, like, okay, we just need to surround Jalen Brunson with players that will complement Jalen Brunson. Kudos to them for recognizing that, because it wasn't always as obvious as it is now. Thanks, Juan. Bernard Richardson, our medical staff fears #heat culture. They should. That band play, man, the other night on poor Derek Jones Jr. What a dirty. Dirty player. Thanks, Bernard. Kevin Danishevsky, I'd love to somehow find a way to face Orlando. Food. I don't know if you're getting your wish there, Kevo. I'm kidding around with you. No, I don't think it's going to happen. I keep refreshing playoffstatus.com, and they don't have the most updated percentages. Unless they don't have the most updated percentages. But like, I kind of just want to look at the standings for the moment. Like, what place is everybody in? So we're in third, Cleveland's fourth, Orlando's fifth, Indiana's sixth, Philly seventh, but a three-way tie at 46 and 35. How about them apples? How about them apples? And then Miami at 45 and 36. Wild, wacky stuff. Thanks, Kev. Anthony, what's going on, Anthony? Mitch looks back. Having him anchor a defensive backup unit could change a playoff series. Deuce, OG, Mitch, good luck scoring. So you're bringing up one of my most interesting things about this team that I will wonder about moving forward once we get to the playoffs, which is which center is playing during the non-Brunson minutes. And I think I am going to be pretty steadfast about this. That I think no, I won't be steadfast about it. I think I am leaning towards Hartenstein because I think the need to generate solid offense is so important during that time that you need Isaiah out there during the non-Brunson minutes, and you max out what you could do on offense while also doing what you need to do defensively, which is why I think OG Anunoby has to be out there for the non-Brunson minutes. And obviously Bogey's going to be out there for the non-Brunson minutes. And then it comes down to two of Deuce, Devo, Hart, and I could see mixing and matching that stuff. Obviously, DiVincenzo and McBride give you more shooting. Hart gives you more size. So, I don't know. The thing that's tough when you're facing a team like Philly is you may not have that luxury because Embiid he could get you guys in foul trouble. And by the way, a guy that I'm kind of happy we have in reserve, and I wonder if both of our starting centers ever gotten in foul trouble in the same game, would he go to Precious over Sims? I don't know. I bet you go to Sims. I don't know. Would Sims get any time in that? Or excuse me, would Precious get any time in that series, assuming they're fully healthy and nobody's in foul trouble? That's another good question. A lot of interesting questions. But to your point, Mitch being back is massive. If he's fully back. Thanks, Anthony. Juan Cruz, get those 50 wins, get that 2 seed, and let the TBS crew go kick rocks. Let's go. TBS crew. You mean TNT? Again, I'm not going to do the diatribe again. Do not get upset over entertainers who say things when they are paid to entertain as opposed to give analysis. My free public service announcement. Thanks, Juan. Kevin Danishevsky, why did McCall not play in crunch time tonight? Because he was bad. Did you look at McCall's stat line tonight? What did he take? Like 7 shots? 8? 8 shots. He was 2 for 8. Mikal Bridges was non-existent tonight. Like, non-existent. So I think that's why he didn't play. Thanks, Kev. Dom with another one. OG does stand for original gangster after all. Well said, sir. Well said. And we're almost finished up. We'll see if we get out of here before midnight. Thanks, Tom. Eric Mangard. What's stopping teams from hacking Mitch for a full game? Use of fouls. Use of fouls. You could do it generally towards the end of a game because you at that point are like your players are not like if they're not at risk of fouling out, then you could expend the fouls. To get like if you're doing that for the whole game, that means you're I mean obviously in the playoffs you're only playing your best players, you're only playing 7 guys probably, and to just start using up those fouls and then potentially put your guys in foul trouble, and yeah, I think that's why. Thanks, Eric Mangard. Sam Garcia's dad, Ray, with another one. Thank you again. Very generous of you tonight, Ray. Your lack of enthusiasm tonight is surprising. Have you forgotten that we have OG in addition to JB, DiVincenzo, Hart, iHeart, Mitch, and Deuce? Man, we've beaten the top teams already this season. Number 2 seed. Look, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this because I think it's the last super chat. So here goes. I've been watching this team for too fucking long. Not this team, this league. That's what I meant to say. Did not mean to say this team. I mean to say this league. What the majority of the time that I've been watching this team means nothing to me right now because that franchise that I watched for the better part of 20 years was a joke. This franchise at this time with this team means business. They mean business as much as any team in the NBA. But this is a league that historically, not always, to be clear, not always, but historically, more often than not, verging on far more often than not, rewards the team in the playoffs or like tends to favor the team in the playoffs with the best player, provided that the teams are roughly equal. And if you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that the Knicks as a team are so vastly superior to the Philadelphia 76ers, putting aside each team's respective best player, I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with you because I have way too much respect for Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris and, yes, Kyle freaking Lowry and, like, Nick Batum and, like, Melton, like those guys that they have over there. Kelly Oubre Jr., you want to talk about a guy who doesn't give a fuck and could really mess up what you want to do in the playoff series. So I'm not buying that. And then if you're telling me, all right, well, we got the best player in the series, fine. Maybe Jalen Brunson is going to be the best player in that series. I would bet on him being the best player in the series. Right now, if I had to bet right now, I bet Jalen Brunson will be a better player in that series than Joel Embiid. But to sit here and be like, that's a given. That the guy who won MVP last year and the guy who over the first 20, 30, whatever games of this season was doing something that hadn't been done since Wilt Chamberlain 50 some odd years ago in terms of his scoring rate at a monumental efficiency. For me to sit here and be like, yeah, there's no question in my mind that Jalen Brunson is going to be better than that guy over the course of a 7-game series. I'm sorry, I can't do that either. So, I can't believe I'm ending this game on this note, but like for everybody who is genuinely frustrated with the fact that I'm like, hey guys, let's respect Philly. Let's respect Joel Embiid. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not just going to wave the pom-poms blindly and completely ignore what I feel in my gut. And what I feel in my gut is that Philly team deserves all of our respect. And if you don't want to respect them, I'm not going to. It's not about not believing in the Knicks. It's about respecting the opponent. This has nothing to do with how I feel about the Knicks. This has to do with respecting who you play and respecting that they have a job to do too. And everybody there on Philly, on their side, fan base side, you know what they're looking at us like? Food. They're looking at us like food. Because they're going to be like, we got the best player in the series. We got the second All-NBA player. We got a guy who's coached the team to an NBA championship. Like, this is the reality. Can the Knicks win? Absolutely. Will they probably win? I would probably give them an edge. Will it be a tough series? Yes. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Unless Philly just didn't show up. And I think that's what a lot of people are banking on. I think a lot of these comments generate from the fact that Philly historically has they haven't made this version of them, have not made it past the second round of the playoffs, and Embiid has not been very good in the playoffs. To which I say, all it takes is one time to change the narrative. Dirk Nowitzki, once upon a time, was a guy who was pilloried for not coming up big in the playoffs. Change that with 1 run. LeBron James, one of the greatest players of all time, was known not to the Joel Embiid extent, because he came up with some big performances, including against the Pistons when he put a team on his back and led them to the finals, but like wasn't exactly known as the biggest playoff player up until he won his first championship. Sometimes it changes mid-career for these guys. And when you are talking about talents of this caliber, MVP caliber talents, which Joel Embiid is, to assume that he is going to come into a playoff series and fall flat on his face after he's had a lot of time to rest, I respect that team too much for me to sit here and be like, bring on Philly. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah, of course I'm excited. I'm going to be very excited. But it's not about a lack of enthusiasm. It's about respecting the opponent. That's all it is. That's all it is. And I know that's not I know that's not what the content creator is supposed to do, but that's what this one does. So, all right. I think we got a couple more that came in. Tommy Jones, what's going on, Tommy? Brunson with first 30-plus point, 10-plus assist, and 0 turnover game in franchise history. You know, I mentioned it at the end, like, as a nice feather in the cap, 30-10, no turnovers. I did not realize it was the first time in franchise history. That's awesome for him. Would have won by 50 if Tibbs didn't ruin iHeart last night. Very funny, Tommy. If you know, you know. Hashtag stackers. Yeah. That's a good one. Tommy, I don't see you here very often, but that's a good one. That's a good one. You made your appearance worth it, and thank you for the generosity, man. You're a very valued member of the community. I hope you know that. And Dylan DeAndrea, if this team had Randall, would they be true contenders in your eyes? They're contenders now. They're already contenders in my eyes. This team could win a championship this year. I believe that. In my soul, I believe they could win a championship this year. I would never say that if I didn't believe it. I believe it. If they still need to make a trade to move up a tier, which starter is expendable? Well, that's the problem. Is no starter is expendable. You're at the point where you're so good that anything you swap out, you're swapping out an invaluable part of your team. Randall's an invaluable part of their team. Isaiah Hartenstein is an invaluable part of their team. Dante DiVincenzo, who I just saw New York Basketball posted before, now has the 15th greatest shooting season by volume in the history of the league. Invaluable part of their team. Don't even need to talk about OG Anunoby or Jalen Brunson. So anything you do, there is risk involved. You know, literally almost anybody you bring in, you could be like, well, I don't know, is it going to work quite the same way? So that's why they are at this very, 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 tough crossroads where you don't want to upset this chemistry. You do not want to upset what this team is able to do well, because there's the fact that they're playing at such a level where people are yelling and screaming at me for not being like, here, we're going to the finals. That speaks to how well this team plays together and how well they function together, and how much consideration needs to be given to any move that this front office makes at this point. And the list of like obvious upgrades has gotten shorter and shorter by the year, and now it's like really short. I think it's kind of like you're going to know it when you see it. But like, again, the perfect example, the fact that I could sit here and be like, man, Donovan Mitchell's awesome, but do I really want to go with more of a ball dominant guy who's like less of a defensive player at the 2 guard instead of Dante DiVincenzo? Like, I would, if I heard myself say that 8 months ago, I would have been like, are you on drugs? And now I'm like, well, I don't know. And again, it speaks to how special this team is and how well they play together. So no starters expendable. I think the easiest argument to make for a position to upgrade is probably the Julius spot, which is ironic because other than Brunson, he is the second best talent on the team. But I think from a fit perspective, and we don't need to get down that road right now, I think that's the easiest argument to make. Thank you, Dylan. And I think, we got another one. Here we go. Kevin Danishevsky. I love it. We keep on going. I got you, Andrew. On another note, I was serious about Obi the other night. Yes, I saw your DM. It's been a crazy couple of days. I didn't get a chance to respond. I apologize. It made total sense to trade him on all sides, but with him with OG, Hart, and iHeart, it would have been fun. So let's play that out. You got Isaiah Hartenstein at the 5. You got Obi at the 4. You got OG and Hart at the 2 and the 3, and then I guess Deuce at the 1. That's your backup 5. I gotta tell you, Kev, I know he went 3 for 11 tonight. I know he looks like pretty bad on defense sometimes. I'd rather have Bogey. I'd rather have Bogey than Obi. I have more confidence that Bogey is going to give me meaningful production in the postseason than I would with Obi. But that's just me. Thanks, Kev. And now we're done. All right. I mean, I am like sorry that I'm not more just absolutely gung ho right now. Bring us anyone. We'll beat all comers. It's just a lot of respect for the other teams in this league, and especially teams with real talent and that are well coached and all that stuff. That said, this team has earned the enthusiasm that they have, and they shouldn't be picked against. Respect the opponent or not respect the opponent. They've earned that right. So I'm happy a lot of people are showing a lot of faith in them. I'm really happy. It looks like we might get the 2 seed. It's going to be super exciting around here. And as a reminder, on Sunday, it will not be me on the postgame. It will be DJ Zulo, because I am going to be celebrating my daughter's first Holy Communion, and that'll be an exciting moment here in the Macri household. Andrew just texted me, "We'll beat all comers." Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. What else did I forget? 5-star rating, although I don't know how many 5-star ratings I'm generating tonight. Leave a generous review, say some kind things about the show. And we'll be back with more fun and games before you know it. Again, DJ Zulo coming your way Sunday post game, and then me and Jeremy will be the end of next week. A lot of playoff content next week. Stay tuned for all that. All right, take care.